Today we are talking about how to become securely attached. I am going to give you 10 steps or 10 check boxes that you can tick on your road to becoming securely attached. Because if you are new to attachment theory, or if you have been with me and on this channel or perhaps on other channels trying to figure out how to become securely attached, you might have figured out that this is quite a chunk of work that we have to do, and it can be very confusing. So I'm going to give you this framework. Some of this framework I've learned from Thais Gibson from Personal Development School, because I've done her coaching course, as well as combined my own other courses that I've done and also the work that I have done on myself over the past, I've been working on myself since I've been 19, so it's been a very long time. I've also done somatic attachment from Embody Lab and emotionally focused therapy by Sue Johnson, which is really like talking to your inner child. I love inner child work, so I'm going to make a separate video on that completely. But today's video, let's get into it. How to become securely attached. I'm just going to give you the steps, the points, and then in other videos, I'm going to break it down and go deeper into these steps. But you might want to get a piece of paper and a pen, or just save this video to your liked videos, so that you can remember these steps, or as you're healing, you can go back over them. All right, so let's get into it. Number one is just to understand your patterns. And I don't mean understand your specific attachment style, although this might be a pointer towards your patterns. What I mean by this is that instead of labeling yourself as, oh, I have an anxious attachment, or I have a fearful avoidant attachment, or I have a dismissive avoidant attachment. Rather, listen to all of the content for all of the attachment styles and see which of these patterns, these behaviors do I exhibit. Because attachment styles is not a horoscope. It is not something that is set in stone. It is fluid. We can have different attachment styles throughout our lives. There are so many factors, socioeconomic factors, relationships, health. There are just so much, wars, so much that can go into an attachment style. This is why I prefer to look for the patterns, and I call these the coping strategies or the survival patterns that were created when you were growing up, that you've been using up to this point, and now you see, well, this is not working anymore because your relationships are not working. You want an update. So figure out, what are your patterns? What do you do when somebody doesn't call you back? Do you become spiteful, or do you ignore them? Or do you become very anxious and you call them a lot? What do you do when you are in conflict? Do you avoid conflict? Do you approach conflict and confront it with aggression? What do you do? Okay, in all of these different situations. So once your patterns are out there in front of you, maybe even journal about them, and then you can see like, oh, this is a pattern for me, and this I can address. So once you're very clear on that, you can address every single one of them. But as I'm talking through these steps, you will also become aware of what needs the most work. Number two, and this is a really big, juicy topic, emotional regulation. It's really broad, and I have just divided it into like levels. So when I started my journey, I had no idea about emotions. I had maybe 2 emotions, which was anger and some ecstatic joy. So I had no ability to feel into the nuance of emotions. And that is extremely important, because our emotions are a signal of how we are thinking, how we feel, or how we think rather, and the needs that we have or the boundaries that we need to set. So we need to be really tuned into our emotions for all the other steps that I'm about to tell you to make sense to you. Because if you are not aware that somebody's crossing your boundary, but you're just reacting to the situation, that is an indication that you need to become a little bit more sensitive to your own emotions. And usually people with insecure attachment have been taught not to be so sensitive. So we have learned how to separate from our emotions, or we have this hot potato that is inside of us. We're like, oh, I don't know what to do with this emotion thing, right? So becoming an expert in your emotions is a huge step on healing your attachment style and just overall in succeeding in life. Because if we procrastinate, if we are struggling to reach our weight goals or career goals or relationships goals, there's something going on with our emotions and how we process them. All right, so under emotional regulation, under the umbrella, I have understand your emotions, feel the emotions in your body. A lot of us are kind of like numbed out from the shoulders down, or we are so freaked out about what we feel in our own bodies and we don't know what to do with that. So we need to understand how to feel emotions. Then we need to understand how to process that emotion. If we just have this huge awareness of I'm feeling everything, which a lot of fearful avoidants have. A lot of fearful avoidants feel their emotions, their partner's emotions, the world emotions, something is going on in the world, and they will be processing those emotions because of the hypervigilance that they have developed when they were growing up. Anxious, preoccupied individuals can do the same. And dismissive avoidants tend to just have a very tight lid on their emotions, not letting anything in or out, which is also not the best thing, because when we don't allow any negative emotions to escape, so to speak, you will also not be able to experience the full range of your joy, of your happiness, of your love. So your whole life becomes kind of muted. Right, so we need to be able to feel these emotions in our bodies and then understand how do we process them so they don't overwhelm us or that they don't scare us, and we can really just get the signal, because emotions are like a hunger and fullness signal. We need to be able to receive that signal, get the information that it is telling us. And what could it be telling us? Okay, it could be that you have negative stories in your head that are just these earworms that have been created through the media or your family. It's like all of these beliefs that you will be betrayed, all men cheat, or all women cheat, whatever it is. So check those stories in your head. That will help with processing emotions. We have to look at cognitive distortions. I'm going to make a video about this, but if you're curious right now, go look for DBT at cognitive distortions. One of the cognitive distortions is like black and white thinking, where it's kind of like either my way or the highway. There is no gray area. Or cognitive distortions might be filtering information according to our beliefs, right? So we have the story that all men cheat or all women cheat, and then we are going to be hypervigilant and check our partner, are they cheating on us? Or we're going to be have this belief rather that everybody's going to abandon us. And then we're going to look for evidence of how this person is going to abandon us. And in that way, we are creating our own experience. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. And this is why it's so important to check our emotions, check our belief systems, the stories that we're feeding ourselves on a daily basis. And then learn how to stop scaring ourselves, stop guilting ourselves and shaming ourselves as well, or abusing ourselves in our mind by our self-critical thinking. Also, with emotional processing, we need to fulfill our needs, and I'm actually going to break this down into the further step. Then we're going to look at boundaries, because that's a very big part of emotional regulation. And then we also need to look at what do we do? What are some of our coping mechanisms? When I'm uncomfortable with my emotions, do I reach for a jar of cookies, Or am I going to go for a walk or phone a friend or journal or something like that, take a bubble bath? So emotional processing is very important. Insecurely attached individuals were not taught this by our parents, because either the parents were not there, perhaps parents didn't have this information, something happened, we didn't get this information. Okay, so you can educate yourself on this, and it's so empowering to understand that you can heal your attachment style simply by learning some information. Okay, number 3, fulfill your own emotional needs. This is the biggest crux of it all. If you understand that insecure attachment was created because your needs were either neglected or they were inconsistently met, then the answer is really simple. Once you learn how to fulfill your own needs by yourself and with a partner and with the help of society, your family, co-workers, if you understand how to do that, you're really doing well on your attachment healing journey. But in order for you to get to your needs, you first have to understand that there is an emotion. An emotion is a signal of a need. Okay, so this is why I'm giving it to you in these following steps. So once we understand I have emotions, I know how to process them, I know that they might be indicating an unfulfilled need, then I see, how can I fulfill this need by myself or with the help of others? The biggest obstacle here is that people do not want to fulfill their own needs because they feel that if I fulfill my own needs, I'm not going to want to have a partner. And that's completely not true. And maybe I'll make another video if you're interested in just busting through some myths about and these misconceptions about some of these steps that I'm mentioning. So if that's something you'd be interested in, put it down below and I'll just make a video about just the myths and the negative or limiting beliefs that we have that are really not true. Okay, once we understand that we have needs and we know how to fulfill them, that will also show us where are our boundaries. So, insecurely attached individuals, I like to divide them into like an open system and a closed system. An open system is like an anxious, preoccupied, and fearful avoidance, where they tend to just have no boundaries and just be very, very open to everything. Everything is going in and everything is going out. And dismissive avoidants tend to be very closed. And even though they seem like they have good boundaries, they might have rigid boundaries that don't allow a lot of things in or out. And this is very important. We need to be able to open up when it is a good opportunity, when we are with somebody that we love. We can open and allow love in. And then we can also close the doors on things that are not healthy for us or things that we don't like. So I like to define boundaries as doors and not walls. So build yourself some doors rather, where you can decide when to open them, who to invite in, what behaviors you want in, and what you want to keep out. Number 5. Now, can you see how this forms a pattern? Once I have my emotional regulation, I can fulfill my own needs, then I have boundaries. Now I can communicate about my experience. If I don't understand my experience, if I don't understand my own emotions or my needs, we are really going to struggle with communication. So once you've ticked all of those boxes, communication becomes really easy, because when you understand yourself, it is so easy for you to explain it to somebody else. And you will also give the correct signal, because what usually happens is with insecurely attached individuals is that they will feel one way. So say, for example, the anxious, preoccupied individual or fearful avoidant tend to do this. They really want love and connection, but they will not ask for it. Instead, they will be critical or they will fight with their partner, which causes the partner to separate and move away from them. So this is why it's so important then to figure out, how do I communicate about my experience? And the more we can understand about our own experience, the easier it is to then let other people into that experience. Number 6, I'm looking at my timing and I might run out of space for this one, so I might not give you the full 10. Let's see how we go. 6, behavior coping skills. Like I've mentioned, what do we do when we are upset? Finding positive things. Maybe starting yoga or breath work or meditation or journaling, something to help you cope positively instead of having negative coping skills like addictions, even the small process addictions like scrolling or limerence over somebody else. It can also become an addiction where we just get lost in other people. Number 7 is very important. Trust. Every single attachment style has trust issues. Anxious, preoccupied individuals struggle to trust that people will stay. Fearful avoidants generally don't trust people to be faithful, or they get scared about being betrayed. And dismissive avoidants don't trust other people with their vulnerability, or they feel they're going to be enmeshed and their freedom is going to be taken away. So trust is a big one. Number 8. Forgiveness. Friends, I'm going to make a whole video about forgiveness. We cannot heal without it. Number 9, we have to change our identity, how we view ourselves. We can't view ourselves as worthless or as anxious or as avoidant. We have to change on a very profound level. And this is what I like about this work that I do that is different to what most people do, is that you can change your subconscious mind. And we do this with various processes. We can use hypnotherapy. There are certain processes that we talk through in coaching. So this work is absolutely top notch and it changes lives. It's fascinating. Number 10, we need to integrate into society, right? Because we need to heal our perception of humans overall. And forgiveness is a big part in that. And once I have healed my attachment style, and people used to ask me, are you secure? And I used to think, I feel secure, but I wonder how I would be around bigger groups of people. And since I've moved to a different city and I'm making new friends, I can see how much more secure I am. I've just been away for a weekend with a bunch of other people, and it's been amazing to see that I don't have these stories in my head. I don't know if you've ever had it when you leave a party and then you go over every single word. It's like, did I say this correctly? Did I offend this person? That is died down. And number 11, we have purpose. Now, purpose is a big topic, so I don't mean this like grandiose purpose, but daily purpose. And I did make it in time. Thank you for staying with me for this long, and I will see you in the next one. Big love.